Uranus takes 84 years to orbit the Sun, spending about 7 years in each sign. That means it's been 77 years since Uranus visited Gemini, and tomorrow on 7/7 it returns. Let's talk about it while enjoying some fireworks. Invisible to the naked eye, Uranus was the first planet discovered with the help of the invention of the telescope, which links it to shocking discoveries, technology, and the progression of humanity. In mythology, Uranus was castrated, and because of this, it's often seen as androgynous, similar to Mercury, the planet it's considered a higher octave of. Also, both planets connect to our mind. Where Mercury rules communication and thought, Uranus rules illumination, innovation, and sudden breakthroughs. Mercury brings change, Uranus brings revolution. Now enter Gemini. Fast-moving, curious, and constantly shifting. Gemini is one of the most unpredictable signs of the zodiac. It changes as quickly as the wind, and this is the kind of environment that gives Uranus the freedom to finally move. That energy is about to flourish, and not without a little chaos. But Geminis are familiar with chaos, so get ready for that Uranian energy to shine, whether it brings breakthroughs, breakdowns, for better or worse. If Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, then it's been in its fall for the past 7 years in Taurus. Uranus moves fast and brings major changes out of nowhere. It's electric, unpredictable, and can stir up anxiety, especially when we're not ready. But Taurus is the slowest sign in the zodiac. It prefers to take its time, enjoy comfort, and stop to smell the roses. That makes it harder for Uranus to do what it does best those past 7 years. Still, the changes came. They were slower and more delayed, but still huge, especially in areas like money, farming, the body, and what we truly value. And in 2018, right as Uranus entered the Earth sign of Taurus, we saw some of the biggest earthquakes around the world, heralding Uranus entering Taurus, the Earth sign. So let's look back on how Uranus and Taurus shaped the collective. Looking back when Uranus was in Taurus, we saw major disruptions and innovations in nearly every Taurian domain. Taurus rules money and property and values, and back in 2018, I predicted we'd see new currencies by 2025. We did. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency took off, but beyond that, we saw the launch of Kenya's Sarufu credit, India's digital rupee, and other digital financial systems. This era ushered in the rise of the cashless society with apps like Venmo, Apple Pay, and Cash App, and governments, especially in the US, began pushing to reduce physical cash in favor of a more controlled, monitorable digital currency. In terms of values, people began prioritizing time, purpose, and sustainability over traditional definitions of wealth. When it comes to property, the remote work revolution reshaped the real estate markets, prompting an urban exodus during COVID, record housing prices, and volatile market shifts, especially in 2020. Globally, land disputes and indigenous sovereignty movements resurfaced and gained traction. Taurus also rules restaurants and fine dining, and in 2020, the restaurant industry was essentially shut down. This led to a complete transformation in how people fed themselves, sparking interest in new ingredients, meal subscriptions, a broader move towards ethical sourcing and home cooking. In agriculture, there was a growing awareness of climate change, sustainable food systems, and we saw a pivot towards plant-based diets, lab-grown meat, regenerative farming. COVID-era food shortages and supply chain failures spurred a surge in home gardening and farm-to-table interest, while weather events like floods, droughts, and wildfires placed a new pressure on food security. Taurus rules the body and the physical senses, and Uranus shook that foundation where we saw a gender revolution, widespread conversations around gender identity, pronouns, trans rights, body autonomy, body positivity, anti-diet culture, beauty norms, facial recognition, plastic surgery, gender-affirming care. There was an explosion of all of this VR, haptic tech, sensory-based media, and also body sovereignty, especially regarding the vaccine mandates, health freedom, and abortion rights, with the Roe versus Wade being overturned in 2022. We also saw growth in alternative medicine, marijuana legalization, somatic therapies, and trauma-informed bodywork. Ultimately, Taurus forced us to reevaluate the foundations of stability, what we truly need, what do we value, and what about the transits of the past? What could we have learned from those time periods? Well, I've identified 3 areas that seem to form a pattern. 1, war; 2, innovation; and 3, redefining a boundary. The last 3 times Uranus entered Gemini, the world witnessed major wars. In the 1940s, it was World War II. In the 1850s, 1860s was U.S. Civil War, and 1775 to 1782 was the American Revolutionary War. This led to major domestic and international border shifts. In the 1783s, U.S. borders formalized post-revolution. 1863, West Virginia split mid-Civil War from Virginia, and in 1947, 1948, towards the end of that World War II, Israel was established. The India-Pakistan partition, Europe was redrawn post-World War II, and Germany. Could this happen again? Well, we are seeing serious discourse around domestic realignment, California's independence movement, Southern secession whispers, and talks of global territory redrawing. Lastly, innovation. In the late 1770s and 80s, we saw the first electric telegraph, the flush toilet, steam engine refinement, 1858 to 1865, we saw the transatlantic telegraph cable, aerial photography, Bessemer steel, early computers, rotary engines. And in 1941 and 1949, the atomic bomb, radar, transistors, nuclear energy, early digital computers, gaming, and the cable TV. So communication, energy, war tech, and computing all made quantum leaps under Gemini Uranus transit. Final thought, buckle up. Uranus and Gemini is going to stir things up and fast. We can expect mental chaos, breakthroughs in communication, technology, the travel industry, invention booms, and yes, the possibility of wars and shifting borders. But Gemini doesn't fear change, it thrives in it. And this Gemini is going to help you navigate this energy.